Don't wait until you think somebody might die or until they have cancer or a tumor or whatever to let the people in your life know that you love them, that you care, that you appreciate them, that you're happy, that you're a part of this big wacky thing together.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. With Rudy Tyburczy.
What is up, my friends? Hello and welcome to episode 88 of Jokes in the Gym with Rudy Tyburczy. It's your boy, Rudy Tyburczy, coming at you for the 88th consecutive weeks. Double snowmen, double infinities, all corners, no edges. That's what it is. All eights, baby. I love I love how it the reflective nature of eights. 2 8s. August, just finished August, feeling good. I'm feeling good. How are you? I got to tell you, I'm a lot better than last week. Last week was kind of a rough one. I had not really been able to sleep for a while, and it was just a bad time to try to record a full episode. So this week I'm feeling a little better. Hi, Bubba. Hi, good girl. Yeah. I'm recording from my bed again because it's just a little easier, a little less setup. I can do things a little more quickly here, and I feel like the quality is just as good. So, gonna try that for this week and maybe moving forward. But yeah, so I'm excited to be back at it. The pod, maybe see how a fuller episode goes this week. And yeah, this week, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about my time in the hospital from last month. Gosh, September already. My surgery was August 13th. Holy cow, it's September 1st as I'm recording this. And I have been moving forward. It's been feeling pretty good, progressing nicely. There's obviously so much that I still have to do. There are doctor's appointments, a ton of those that I'm going through. Last week I had 3 doctor's appointments. I don't know if I'll get into those this week. Maybe next week I'll talk more about the continuing stuff that I have to do as it progresses, but mostly good reports from the doctors, so I'm excited about that. And but yeah, I want to recap my hospital time, my surgery, what I remember from that over at Riverbend, which was a pretty darn good experience. I also want to talk about my first time doing comedy since the surgery, and it went really well. I'll talk about it more later. And then I also want to do a new segment where I talk about movies because I love movies, and right now I have nothing but time to just be watching a bunch of movies, and that started in the hospital. So I'm going to give a movie review, but with my own little twists on it. So thanks for stopping by. I'm excited to get going and let you know how things have been and how my surgery went and all that. So yeah, let's get to it. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience at the hospital, which was for the most part super good. I was at Riverbend over in Springfield, just a town over, and it was solid from start to finish. I felt like the care was really coordinated and well done, and I just wanted to kind of take you through what it was like for me, going through a craniotomy, brain surgery, resection of a tumor on August 13th, 2025. Big shout out to the whole staff, everybody who helped me there. I really appreciated everyone I worked with. I don't have a bad thing to say about anyone, honestly. And some things took a little more time than you think, but that's what a hospital is. I've recently I watched a couple episodes of The Pit after I got back, and I was like, oh, I have a greater appreciation for the people in a hospital after having both been a patient and watched that show and talked with the nurses and doctors and talked with my own friends who are doctors and nurses. And so I think it's just important that you have a greater understanding of how much is going into that process for every single patient that goes through the doors. And I'm fortunate that I felt comfortable with the competency levels of my care providers throughout the whole process. And so, yeah, I mean, how did it start? It started on that day. It was a 5:30 a.m. check-in time. That was the call. Call sheet was 5:30 a.m. and um it was fine. I hadn't been, I mean, I didn't sleep great. Um, I think that's to be expected. And I even kind of had like, I don't know quite how to describe it that night, but it was like it felt like I was about to have some kind of anxiety. I don't want to say anxiety attack, but I felt super anxious, and there was like a moment when I woke up that night really just like concerned, or not like about what was going to happen necessarily, but of course partially, even though that was going to be at that time my last time potentially driving for 3 months. My mom drove because I just didn't want to have a weird episode while I was driving or anything like that on the way. How stupid would it be if you're going to get a brain surgery and then you get in a car crash on the way? I'm sure it's happened to someone. It's got to be awful. But I just felt a little anxious, of course. But then getting there, you feel relief when you show up, and you're like, okay, going through the processes. People know your name. They're preparing as well. Everybody knows what's going on, and you get in there, and it's pretty smooth. And so, yeah, parked on the roof. Anytime you park on a roof of a parking structure and you go right into the room, you feel like important. It feels kind of like you're getting helicoptered in, medevac in to the surgery. You're like, okay, here I'm Rudy Tyburczy, and you're gonna do surgery on me. It's gonna be great. And so I got there, checked in, got into the pre-op room pretty soon. And in the pre-op room, like, you get this little room, like 10 by 10 feet, not a huge room or anything. And your nurse comes and talks with you about stuff and makes sure you are who you say you are. I can't tell you how many times I had to tell people my name, my date of birth, all that kind of stuff, which also made me feel good, because I've heard stories of people who had like experiences where the doctor got the limb wrong or the side wrong or the whatever wrong. And so just to make sure that everyone is on the same page from start to finish was really good. And I yeah, my nurse, my pre-op nurse, Katie, was good. Told her some about my story about like the missed MRI 5 years ago, and she couldn't believe it. She was appalled. And this got me thinking. When we told her that someone missed an MRI with the mass on it in 2020, she was like, I would try to contact that doctor. And so that's something I'm considering. I don't know to what end but at least just to kind of take ownership of my story and let this person know that they had a pretty big negative impact on me. Like, okay, dude, you had a big long career and you probably helped a lot of people's ear, noses, and throats, but you didn't help mine. Even though he performed surgery on me 20 years ago or so, that didn't fix what was going on. And then in 2020, when he ordered an MRI again, because I still have issues breathing out of my nose. Even now when I'm talking, I don't know how to breathe and talk at the same time. And that's an issue, I think. I need to figure out how to do that better. That's something that I'm going to look into. And just because it's like, dude, you royally screwed the pooch. And I think that you should know that. It's caused me a lot of challenges and pain and harm in my life. And so that's not really on me all the way at all. And so that would help me feel better in some ways, because even though I'm moving past it, I'm getting through it. I've had the brain surgery. There's the scar, baby. You can see it right there. That's the craniotomy. 21 staples were right up in my head right there. I think a lot of the challenges could have been avoided had it been caught 5 years ago. Had I been monitoring this for a longer period of time, I think that would have done a lot of good. So, yeah. And so the pre-op nurse was really great, and my mom afterwards told me that she like visited her a couple times when she was waiting throughout my surgery and stuff like that. And so that made me feel good that the team was there for me and my family. That was great. And Another funny thing about the pre-op room was that I had the same anesthesiologist as I did for my unsuccessful cardioversions a couple weeks prior. And I thought I recognized him when he walked in, and he recognized me. And he's kind of this big, burly, gregarious type of guy. And he was like, I recognize you, and stuff like that. And so that was also good because, there's, I'm sure, plenty of anesthesiologists that could have been doing the job, but the fact that someone had already worked with me also put me at ease a bit. And he said about the unsuccessful cardioversion, he'd never seen something quite like that before. He hadn't seen someone get shocked 5 times in that procedure and have it not take at all. So, um, I'm a unique guy, apparently. I keep winning these shitty Powerball tickets, but he did his job, and he was yeah, professional and helpful, and one wanted to chat and ask me questions and that kind of stuff. And even as I was getting wheeled in to the operating room, I remember after the pre-op, that which I was in there for a couple hours, I was in there, and there was the nurse, there was the anesthesiologist, and then I saw my surgery team, my Dr. Kuhn and my PA Tom, and they came in and we chatted again, and that was the second time I'd seen them, and then they were going to go knuckles deep in my friggin' skull. So that's a get to know you pretty quickly kind of a thing. And so they came in and we chatted before the surgery and that kind of stuff. But that feels good to kind of touch base and be able to ask some questions if you have any additional questions before the surgery, that kind of thing. I think they said normally surgeries are at 7:30, but on Wednesdays there was a meeting, so it was at 8. The surgeons and stuff have a meeting Wednesdays, so surgery was a little later. It just adds a little bit more waiting, and then I remember getting wheeled into the surgical room, the operating room, and it's just this like big white open, just like blaringly white, just so white. You see the light for sure. And there were just a handful of people in there. I get wheeled in, and my anesthesiologist was like, "Well, here's the A team. You got the A team," or somebody said A team, and they said hello, and introduced to a few different people. There was like maybe I think there was 5 or 6 people that were part of the surgery, and including my doctor, my neurosurgeon, the PA, anesthesiologist, and then I met 1 or 2 other people as well. And my anesthesiologist was like, "Okay, if this is the A team, I'm BA Baracus," uh, which I kind of liked. Somebody cracking a joke. He's like, "I used to watch that show all the time," and so there's people in there, and I don't know how I feel about Mr. T being my anesthesiologist, but I'm here. They got the job done, so they did what they needed to do. Um, and whenever you go under like general anesthesia, like meaning full body anesthesia, you are told like, okay, I'm going to start counting down from 100 or whatever it is. And then before you even know it, before you're able to even register anything, I was out. Like, it's just like that pretty darn quick. And then the next thing you know, you're awake and it's all done. And it's like, oh, wow. Okay. That I didn't experience any of that. So I'm thankful that that was the case. I know a lot of people now. There is also a version of the craniotomy of a resection where people are awake where when the surgeons are operating on them, and I'm very thankful that I didn't have to be awake and talking during my craniotomy, because I've heard stories from people about how they're awake and maybe even cracking jokes during their brain surgery, which would have been a freaking trip. But I'm thankful I didn't have to like go through that experience. But the surgery was good. I woke up solid. I think I woke up in the. I think it's the PACU. I don't even think I woke up in the operating room. I don't think I was even awake at that point. It took, I don't know. I think I heard it took a little over 4 hours, and which is a little more than the expected time. Dr. Kuhn told me it would be about 3 hours 50 minutes, but I think it was like 4 and a quarter is what I heard. And like I said, I was thankful that my mom later told me that the pre-op nurse Katie came and checked on her, said hello, gave her some little updates what she could during the procedure, because anytime it takes a little longer, you want to at least hear from the team about how it's going. So surgery went well. Woke up in the PACU, which is like the post-surgery unit. I'm not quite sure what it was, but there's like a bunch of people in there recovering from their various procedures or whatever, and just a handful of nurses helping out, and they were very friendly, very personable. The guy that was helping me most of the time was named Aaron, and I heard him and his colleagues joking. One of his fellow nurses was calling him Aaron, which is a reference from the Key and Peele sketch, and so I was calling him Aaron throughout most of the time as well. And they were like laughing and having a good time, and it was just nice to feel like you're there with humans. And we chatted, and I asked him a bunch of questions throughout the whole process, and because I was there for a long time. They kept saying, "Okay, yeah, you're going to get a bed in the ICU soon." That was the plan. And so actually it took like 8 hours before I got into my room in the ICU. So I was like in this PACU, the post-surgical recovery unit, for friggin' most of the day for me. And I remember when I woke up, I couldn't eat. There's like, okay, you can try to drink a little bit and something like that, but then I couldn't really do that, and then someone suggested maybe some mint tea, and that was going down pretty easy. I had a little bit of mint. I had a bunch of mint tea, and then some Jello, a little applesauce, and it felt good for a while, but then my stomach and revolted, and I just hurled it up a bunch. Like I barfed like 1.6 liters into these like very nice barf bags. You know, have you ever had like a proper barf bag experience where it's like, blah, there's like a hole, and it's like got like a outer, you know, place for you to put your mouth, and then like a long blue sack to puke into. And I filled up like 800 milliliters on two of those. And so um while it's not very pleasant to barf, especially when your brain has just been chopped into, it was probably the most pleasant tasting upchuck that I've ever had. Because you get a liter of mint tea, a couple of bites of orange Jello, some applesauce. Uh, it went down easy, and as far as pukes are concerned, it came up easy as well. It wasn't the worst barfs that I've ever had, that's for sure. So from the PACU, 8 hours in there. After that, at the hospital, I spent one night in the NICU and 2 nights on the neuro floor. And the NICU was fine. It was all good, you know. Like pretty soon after the surgery, I was at least, I'm like groggy and a little funky, but I'm still kind of myself for the most part coming out of it and feeling like a human. So, after I came out of surgery, Dr. Kuhn told me everything went well. They were able to really just get in there and get the parts out that they had intended on. And we talked about how some parts of the fMRI showed more vague outlines of the tumor of Tommy. He had some vaguer areas, some less distinct lines, and with those portions of the tumor, we would take a more conservative approach, because we don't want to take the risk of digging into places that are like active and healthy and that I'm still using in my brain. So that was good to know, and that's what I prefer. The doc said it's not uncommon to have to do multiple surgeries eventually, and so that happens to lots of people. Many people I've spoken with or stories I've read about, people have multiple surgeries, and so if you have to do that, you have to do that. But when I got out of the surgery and I met with the doctor and stuff, she said we got what we thought we needed to, and so that felt good. And then getting out of the PACU into the ICU for that day, I got there later in the evening, and that was fine. But that, people need care. And that's the thing. It's like people need to be in there. And my first nurse, real nice guy, name was David, younger guy, like strong looking athletic type dude, some tattoos and stuff like that. Could tell that he lifted, that he worked out and this kind of stuff. He complimented my glasses, and I was like, well, they're kind of similar to yours. And he's like, yeah, they are. And so it was nice to be able to talk about working out and stuff like that. When I told him my story of how everything went down, he was like, how I had a seizure while working out, like between sets. He was like, man, I sometimes worry about that. And I'm like, he's like, you're not making me feel any better about not passing out during my workouts and stuff. I was like, I'm I'm not sorry. I'm not here to make you feel better about that, buddy. But we talked to, he's from Pennsylvania, so we were able to talk about football a bit. I'm an Eagles fan, and just a real pleasant guy. There were a lot of nice people there. My dad visited that first night. Um, and then, yeah, it was pretty feeling all right. It's always kind of fun to be in not fun, but it's like nice to just be in a hospital room where you just can have care at any time. Like if you're feeling owie or weird or you need something or you have a question, there's somebody there to help you out. And so that was good. I forget when the first time I was able to pee was, but I don't remember having big struggles going to the bathroom or anything like that. But I had so many like things shoved in my arm all freaking week. I'm still recovering from a few of them. I still have a bruise on this arm. You can see that bruise pretty clearly. That bruise is from, just having my veins poked and prodded and dug into all week. So there's on both arms, there's a lot that I can still see. There's even some uh marks, some visible marks there on both arms because yeah, one of my nurses at one point said that I had textbook veins. I forget, but I had, there's three veins that you can see, and um, so that was, you take your wins when you can. You're in the hospital getting your brain chopped up. If somebody says that I'm making their job easier, I have textbook veins, I'll take it. I'll take that as a win, and I'm glad I can. It's also was helpful for them to find a vein and to get stuff in there. And so, like, I feel like I don't want to lose in this whole situation that it is helping me now, helped me then, will continue to help me moving forward about my health and my commitment to wellness, well-being, fitness, exercise, all those kinds of things are helping me in this situation. And so I'm grateful for all the years and decades of hard work and dedication I've put into this whole process, and so I'm really grateful that the work that I have already done is coming back to help me in this recovery process. And so that's been part of why I've exercised as preventative care, and I haven't, necessarily needed to, but I think at this point, and this has been echoed by several doctors that I've spoken with already, is that it is helping me through this process, helping me get through these things right now. So I'm I'm really grateful that I've been so interested and so keen to work out over the years, and I'm glad that it's helping me at this point in time. So yeah, I went in the still in the ICU that first night. Dad visited, a friend's dad visited, one of my childhood friends who he had a tumor as well that I've been reconnecting with some lately. Has been great. And it was awesome that his dad wanted to come visit as well because he knows what this experience is like for someone in his life near his, his son. So, yeah, that was really cool And then there were also multiple people from the hospital that I knew, several people who worked there, neighbors, friends. I have a client and a friend from the Y who visited, who's an occupational therapist, and she was able to come by, and that felt really good to see some familiar faces, and I really appreciated that. And there was also another occupational therapist. I didn't work with my friend, but another occupational therapist stopped by, and she came by after I'd kind of been napping, and this was like I hadn't gotten out of the bed yet. But sometimes when you nap, your body does certain things, and um, your my member was in a certain state of half awake, more than just asleep, let's say, and I think, and I wasn't like turgid. It wasn't like boom. It was just like, oh, okay, it's not at its normal sleepy time state. And so that was when she was showing up to like help me get out of the bed and that kind of stuff. And thankfully, for what for whatever reason, she took a little while before like she had me stand up. And maybe, she might have seen the state I was in and wanted to like let that pass. Or maybe she just, knew that the first time you stand up after having brain surgery, you should take a moment from going from laying down to sitting up to standing up. Because even now, I'm still getting head rushes when I stand up a little too quickly, when I go from low to high too fast. I have to kind of like make sure to go slowly during those parts of the time. So, but she was very helpful, and I was able to like kind of move around and that kind of thing. And so everybody said that I was looking good. I didn't have any facial swelling or anything like that. So many times people do have, like, I've seen a lot of people with like a big full bruise on their face afterwards. And so I am grateful that I didn't have a lot of those negative after effects or challenges after the surgery that a lot of people do. And when I woke up, oh, I should also say I was able to like move my left side immediately, because that was something I was worried about going into this process. Like, was it going to be a smooth transition out of surgery and back into that was one of my biggest concerns, I would say, heading into the surgery, was what was I going to feel like afterwards? Was I going to have control of my left side? Because the right side of your brain, where my tumor was, controls the left side of your body, and vice versa. The left side of your brain controls the right side of your body. And so the fact that I was able to and still am able to do things with my left side is really encouraging. And so was able to get up and move around a little bit with the occupational therapist. That felt good. And then later that day, there was also a physical therapist that came by and was able to help me. And as the physical therapist came in, I like walked out of the room and like down the little hallway about 10-15 feet. That was the longest, I would walk that in that first day. And as I was walking down the hall, we kind of opened this double doors with this automatic button. And as the doors opened, my mom was like walking in front of the doors trying to find where I was. And so she saw me and I saw her, and we waved and smiled, and she got like a funny little picture of me with the head wrap, the bandage, waving, just like kind of looking out of it. But um, it was a fun moment to be able to share and see my mom there in the ICU, and then get that photo as well. So yeah, and then I was there. I did get moved out of the ICU after one day, and then I spent two days just in the regular care unit, and that was good too. Like the whole time there was fine. Like there were numerous. You work with so many nurses in that time that you're there. And they were all super solid. They were all super great. I felt very well taken care of throughout the whole process. And Watched a lot of movies, like again, like on FX, TNT. There was some Jim Carrey marathon. There was a Dumb and Dumber, followed by The Mask, followed by Bad Teacher. But I didn't know Bad Teacher was on after The Mask. I just knew that I was seeing Cameron Diaz again in another movie. And so I didn't see the end of The Mask because it had been a really long time, and then it went into the beginning of Bad Teacher. And I didn't know that The Mask had ended. So I just thought that Cameron Diaz in Bad Teacher was how The Mask was ending. But then about 20 minutes into the movie, I was like, oh, this is obviously Bad Teacher, which I'd never really seen. It's not a very good movie, but whatever. But I just thought that Cameron Diaz's character was like this skanky jerk of a teacher. And no, it was just a different movie. But I'm going to on a note about that, I'm going to start doing some movie reviews on either the podcast or just extra little clips. I have a bunch of movie tickets that I've saved, and I'm just going to do quick movie reviews that are part like movie reviews and part maybe just a part journal. So it's not just going to be like, oh, this movie was great and the cinematography was the awesomest and everybody should see it or not see it or whatever. But it might be something like that, but also talking about put my experience with it and like what I was feeling or doing or why I saw it or who I saw it with or what it was like in that way. So get ready for some of those. I might even do one in this episode, but I just wanted to kind of like bring that up because I love watching movies. And even but now I'm like watching I'm back home. I've been home for a couple weeks, and sometimes there's just too many movie times. Sometimes you have too much time to watch movies. And but and but and but I I want to include some more movie stuff because it's fun. Sometimes you want to hear from a friend before you see a movie. Is it worth your time or what? So yeah, if you, I'll do some more of I'll do some of those, and I'll share them with folks, and they'll just be shorter. I might put out some mini movie review episodes moving forward, but I'm excited about that, and I was happy to be able to watch so many movies at the hospital. Like I said, there's those Jim Carrey ones, bunch. I think when I was getting physical therapy, there were the Doctor Strange movies on. And so like as Doctor Strange is like using his mind to like travel through universes and multi-dimensional planes and this kind of stuff, I'm like trying to fight down a half chub while I'm standing up. I'm like, can I can I do these things? As Benedict Cumberbatch is like flying through the Himalayas or whatever, using the power of his mind. And so it was just kind of funny to see that, have that kind of change, that highly different experience from what I was having to what I was watching. And so yeah, I think that's fun, and I'm looking forward to doing more movie stuff because I'm always happy to. I haven't gone to the movies yet. 2.5 weeks out, almost 3 weeks out from the surgery, but I think I'm pretty close. And yeah, so um the 2 nights on the neuro floor were good. Mom was there. More visitors came. Seth stopped by. A couple other visitors stopped by. It was very nice. Again, friends from the hospital and that kind of stuff. People were able to swing by. I knew one or two other people that were patients in the hospital at that time, and we didn't necessarily connect, but we were able to chat a little bit, and that felt good. So, if you reached everybody who reached out, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I don't want to say a good time at the hospital, but it was not a bad experience. I felt like my care was coordinated. There was like a patient care coordinator. I saw my doctor a couple times, my PA a couple times, physical therapist, occupational therapist, probably worked with a dozen nurses the whole time I was there, if not more. Um, Bathroom went pretty smoothly at home or at the hospital, and was taking like stool softeners and this kind of stuff and oxy and different kinds of things to help me progress through. And I never let the pain get too intense. That was one of the main things I would say to anybody who's like going through a painful experience either at the hospital or that requires some type of medicine or medication. Stay ahead of it, because everyone I've heard who's had to have surgeries that are like big and require a lot of you, sometimes the pain can get so incredible that you just once it's there, it's so hard to get back on track. So make sure that you stay ahead of the pain. That doesn't mean like overdoing it. It just means being honest, and like if you feel a little pain, let people know so you don't feel a lot of pain in a little while. And yeah, thanks to our friends Scott and Lisa for helping with the drive home. Thanks a million to my mom for being there. Thanks to all the nurses, the staff, the doctors, everybody at Riverbend. It was just a good experience overall. The food was pretty good too. Like it was nice to just be able to call up the food line and be like, "Hey, bring me these things," and they've in an hour, 45 minutes or whatever, it would be there. So maybe I'll share some of the pictures of the food that I had at the hospital, but it was not the worst, and I was like, okay, I'll take it. When I really actually got kind of hooked on, not hooked on, but back into cereal like Raisin Bran. I really developed a nice appreciation for Raisin Bran. And I told that to one of my nurses, and she laughed, and she's like, "You just aged yourself about 20 plus years with that statement." And I laughed, and I was like, "Okay, well, I'll take some Raisin Bran." And trying to stay pretty healthy and make sure to feed myself when I needed to. So if you're going through a hospital stay, I hope that your experience is good. And I guess the advice I would give you is to make sure to speak up for yourself if you need something, and to eat when you need to eat. And if you're in pain, let people know you're in pain. If you need help, let people know you need help. So, yeah, I had this wacky head wrap the whole time I was there, basically. And so I have one or two pictures of when they unwrapped it for the first time, and it was looking gnarly. It almost looked like my brains were coming out, but it was just like the healing part of the process. And so, if you want to see that photo, let me know, because it was large and in charge. So, anyways, Tommy got out of there, out of my brain. I got out of the hospital, back at home, happy to be here, and the recovery is going well, but I'm still going through a lot. There's so much stuff going on, and I probably present as better than I actually am, which has been, I think, probably part of my challenges over the years. Is the fact that even one of the nurses was like, I have an idea you probably have a pretty high pain threshold, and I do not wear that with pride, because I think it gets you into trouble. When you have a high threshold for pain, that means you're willing and able to put up with a lot of shit. And that's not good for us. We need to be able to talk about the stuff that we're going through. And so just really appreciated the care I got at the hospital, and I hope that others can as well. This is one of the biggest thing in my life I can think of. And the fact that there were so many people there to support and help me through it and guide me through it is why I wanted to take some dedicated time to talk about it. So thanks for listening to it. And if you have any questions about my experience or want to share yours, let me know. Please reach out. Find me on the socials or wherever. Send me an email, jokesandthegym@gmail.com. Or my name is Rudy Tyburczy. Find me wherever. And yeah, so my time at the hospital was solid. I will give it 4 out of 5 brains, because it still feels good. And on the second, after the surgery, I also got an MRI again. And so I went back to the MRI team. There was some familiar faces that I'd seen in the MRI crew, and I will be getting more of those moving forward. So I'll probably get to know that cast of characters, continue to work with them over time. But yeah, so that was my time at the hospital. I could talk about my first comedy set and my doctor's visits next week, I think. I think that's probably what I'll do, because I did my first comedy set back after the surgery last week, 17 days after surgery, and it went really well. I was tired. It was the most I'd been standing in a month, and overall it felt good. But I'll tell you more about it probably at a later time, because it was I just don't have the stamina that I've been accustomed to having throughout my life. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And I'll continue to keep you updated on how the progress and the process is going, because there's a lot to do. And I'm excited about what's ahead. But I also know that there's a lot ahead. My heart is still in AFib. I still have challenges with normal stuff, and I'm not able to get back working out yet. There's still some time before that. Had some successful doctors visits last week, some informative doctors visits. I met with cardio, with neuro, and with cancer doctors. So good to continue to touch base with all of them. And there's a lot of stuff that I have to do moving forward. But I'm glad that I'm able to get the care that I need. And appreciate everybody who's been a part of it one way or another. So thanks. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, take care of yourself. Continue to move. Life is a gift. Movement is precious. Your body, your health, your mind are so precious. And so appreciate them when they are there, when they work. You never know when stuff's going to go on the fritz. You never know when you're going to get life-changing news. You never know when you're going to get injured, or you'll lose someone you love, or life throws you the biggest curveball you could imagine. And so make sure that you are present, is what I would say. I'm thankful that I have been present my whole life. And one of my philosophies has been, if I were to die tomorrow, would the people in my life know how I feel about them? And I hope the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes. And after going through this, I have a better idea of how people feel about me. And so that's the other thing. Don't wait until you think somebody might die, or until they have cancer or a tumor or whatever, to let the people in your life know that you love them, that you care, that you appreciate them, that you're happy, that you're a part of this big wacky thing together. Because it's precious, and we don't know what tomorrow will hold, to sound like friggin', I don't know, Tony Robbins or whatever. So do your best. Take some rest. Grab a breast. That's, just good advice all around. When you can, when it's all appropriate. And so I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good day. And I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. With Rudy Tyburczy.